Hi everybody and welcome along to Friday night with us at the Endless Celts Podcast. I hope you're all well who's watching along and also going to catch up. I'm delighted to be joined by Jed, James and Anthony. How are you?
Fine.
All good.
All good,
Anthony,
mate.
yourself?
Good to
That's
be back
good.
on, mate. Feels like I've had just as long a rest as the first team. I think it was like the Christmas quiz was the last time I was on. But yeah, all good to go, mate. Good to be back on.
100%. And we've come up with a wee bit of an initiative here to try it out with the viewers and stuff like that going forward. William, who looks after the TikTok, has come up with a wee preview of what we're going to be talking about in the podcast. I'm going to play that now and hope you kick back and enjoy this wee minute clip. I think it's fair to say that William's a dab hand at putting them TikTok videos together. That was pure magic there. I thought, get us all in the moment.
To produce the next Marvel film, isn't it? Jeez,
100% quality. But again, that was just a sneak peek what we're going to talk about. Vincent is in the comments. Hail from Dublin. Plunge McNuggets in. Corvo. William, the very man himself, in. John Boy Graham's in. Pat McLaughlin in early. I think we should start a bat on Palma. We'll get into that shortly in terms of the lineup for Buckie Thistle. But Jed, I'll come to you straight away with the latest news and the signing front, the incomings anyway. Nicholas Kühn has signed for Celtic from Rapid Vienna for around £2.8 million. He's a right-sided player, can also play across the front three positions, so centre attacking mid and off the left as well. Before I get into the nitty-gritty of the deal and the wingers within the club, but what's your initial thoughts on the transfer?
Yeah, to be honest, I'm surprised. I thought he would look to other positions first. I think I've stated on here whether I've commented. If I've not been on, I do think we need a bit of physicality in the team. For me, left back was screaming out, and possibly like a midfield enforcer. So, at the end of the day, I'm not paid the big bucks like Brendan Rodgers to make these decisions. Look, to be honest, I don't know much about the guy. I've only seen some video clips of him, but we didn't know anything about Kyogo when he came. Or Abada, and if he turns out to be half as decent as they do, well, that'll be a good signing. Yeah,
no, I totally agree. And obviously, there's Rebel. You can tell Anthony has broken many of hearts over the years. Big, handsome Baza. I'm saying it's not his bastard. But I do agree with you, Jed, in the terms of the unknown. And James, we've had to deal with that with multiple signings like Kyogo, Rio Tate, Matt O'Reilly, even when he was at MK Dons. And look, the Nicholas Kühn deal, while we're happy we got him in the door, I see many supporters online saying he's not the bracket of the £6 to £7 million player. Why can we not do that? Why can we not get a winger that's more proven? But then you can kind of counter that and say the Austrian league is a decent standard. Rapid Vienna are a good club. And another winger in the door, like Jed said, kind of prioritising other positions. I do agree. But same question that I had with Jed there. What's your initial thoughts on the deal?
The player himself, to be fair, I'm the same as Jed. I've not seen an awful lot of him, but what I have seen, he looks good. He looks like something we probably need for that right wing. Probably 100 times more technical than Maida. That's not a slight Maida because he's definitely got his uses, but it's hard not to take it in the context of the window so far as a whole, and it's just really, really underwhelming. I said coming into it the exact same as I said in the summer. For me, the bare minimum was a left back and a goalkeeper. and obviously signing another winger, albeit something maybe a wee bit different we don't have on the right side. I don't really think it's kind of scratching the surface of where we need to be coming out of the window so far.
Yeah, no, again, we'll get into the nitty gritty of it. And obviously, like what James said there as well, and Jed kind of echoing that, it's the winger position we're stacked in, and we'll come on to the names we'll have. But I do agree with James in the essence of the technical side of his game. He looks like he's very quick, very dynamic, can take players on. And I think for me, the initial parts of the season, maybe bar Yang almost, because Abada's only back from injury, we didn't really have anyone to take a player on, eliminate a player, and get into the box that way. Maybe Kühn can be that bit of quality that we're crying out for on the wings.
Yeah, well, that's certainly what we hope for, Stephen. And take the boys' points on, absolutely. But as James says, the fact that it might be someone, one of the biggest frustrations, as much as I think for most part, Louis Palma has impressed, although there's perhaps the accusation he sometimes has went a bit missing, especially at that period in early December when we'd have run up poor results. But one of the sort of biggest sort of frustrations with the support is that he's not overly keen on taking a man on the outside. Maeda can do that, but he's not as technically gifted as we say as Palma is. So that's where I think perhaps Brendan's looked to bring this guy in. As like the rest of the boys, I'd be lying if I said I knew too much about him, but he seems to come with a decent reputation. And if the deal was there to be done, then fair play for getting it over the line. But as much as I agree in terms of numbers, Stephen, there's no doubt that we're stacked on the wings. But we also have to take into account that it's an area where we always want to, traditionally we always play with a lot of width and a lot of pace and a lot of attacking threat. And when you take away, you would imagine Palma at the moment is pretty much, as close to a guaranteed starter as you can be on that side. Maeda has obviously been a massive part for the last year and a half, but he's obviously away at the moment. Abada is still to get back up to full fitness. So there's perhaps going to be a bit of time before he's there, and then you start. The further down you go, you are going into the Mikey Johnson territory, who God love the laddie, but he's just not going to make it at Celtic, I don't think. And then, as much as I'm president of the James Forrest fan club, but there's no doubt that obviously James's best days are behind him as well. So when you start going into the nitty gritty of it, or perhaps not, there's definitely quantity there, but in terms of the, to use Brendan's favourite word, quality, it might be maybe lacking for considering how much there is still to play for between now and the end of the season. So I think with Kuhn coming in, that's hopefully where he's going to have that impact. Although, just our luck, it wasn't until I was just about to go on here we found out that he's potentially not going to be fit for this weekend. So that's it destroys the headline of the show. Kuhn arrives in time for Buckie Thistle. Will he start? Obviously not, but we'll have to talk about Nicholas Kuhn. He's the latest signing. But Jed, will he come in the comments there? And he was referencing the press conference where he said he likes to go one-on-one or take on two people at the same time, which is fantastic. He seems a confident guy. And he was name-dropping all these superstars like Lewandowski and all them types of players he's trained with at Bayern Munich, played with at Ajax. And then he name-dropped Marvin Comper as well, which was just an absolute... I don't know why he even said that. The missing man who was at Celtic, he still got a league medal. But with the 5.5-year contract, it's a strange number, right? But does that give an inkling of what Celtic hope for him? Or is it just the norm now that we hand these kind of long contracts out to these so-called project players, hope to have 2 good seasons, then you can capitalise on the transfer fee further down the line?
Yeah, I think that's 100% right, Stephen. I think it is. They're trying to protect an asset, hence why Kyogo, Atati, etc. all got the new contracts at the beginning of the season. It's just to hopefully put another 0 at the end when they do go. Like I touched on earlier, I did think there were more pressing areas we needed players in, and I actually forgot to mention a striker with Open away. We've only got one recognised striker at the moment. God forbid if anything happens to Kyogo. Who we got? We've got some big games coming up. Now, we're going to have to start Kyogo. and Sunday, but my worry is we're really short up front. And with Maeda being away, I know he can go up front. I think Japan's going to get knocked out, so hopefully they'll be back sooner rather than later. But I just hope, but almost 2 weeks left to go, I hope Rodgers and the board have got something up their sleeve. Because if we only get one player in, I'm sorry, it's just not good enough, especially the end of this season. Champions League's going to be the biggest windfall for any Scottish club.
I totally agree, and it's £60 million, isn't it? Basically guaranteed next season when you're qualifying for the Champions League, James. And I think Jed's right. And Brisbane comes in with a great point here. We have 10 wingers, Haxabanov still to come back, terrible squad management and recruitment, guys. Let's be honest. Are you off the same lines as that one, James? Would you go along with that kind of thinking?
Aye, definitely. Guys like Yang, don't get me wrong, injuries haven't helped. But I don't think when we signed Yang that anybody really would have been expecting him to get as much game time in the games as well that he has played. James Forrest probably shouldn't have been given a new contract. Mikey Johnson probably wouldn't get again for a junior team. Haksabanovic, that's another one, gave a kind of decent contract to, and don't get me wrong, I took a bit of stick on the Jungle Gyms podcast because I actually don't mind Haksabanovic. I know he kind of threw a wee kind of hissy fit on Twitter or Instagram, whatever it was. So he's probably well out the door as well. But I think he'd probably be similar to a Palmer. Palmer's obviously better, but kind of similar type of players. But there's plenty of players wide. Then we've got the issue as well. We might if Kühn's coming in, to play in the right wing. Do we then maybe class Maeda as a striker? And then the ball.
That's what I was thinking. Is that his plan?
That could be it, mate, because we've seen it pre-season as well, and I think we've seen it at the start of the season for a wee period as well. But it would just be like us, though, to sign a winger and then think that takes care of the striker. But nah, as Jed says, I just hope there's a lot more to come.
Yeah, and it's weird, Anthony, because in the comments as well, and even between ourselves, like we're happy there's a new signing, but I think it's more the fact that it's what date we on? The 19th of Jan. It was confirmed yesterday, so 18 days in, we got a signing through the door, but this guy Kuhn was linked very early on. The deal obviously takes a while to be completed, and there just seems to be, I wouldn't say maybe a lack of urgency, but there's no other, and we're going to come on the goalkeepers now, but there's no other names that are standing out to be like, yeah, this is the next one coming in, or we can be sure that he's looking at a striker. Because I agree with you, Ed and James, and while, again, Kuhn looks good, and on paper, the 5.5-year deal kind of marks his potential and what Celtic hope to gain from him if all goes well, because I know that's a recruitment model and things. But they're neglecting areas of the squad that every fan can see plainly that needs attention. Striker was probably the main one in the January transfer window because we've lost O, and even at O as a backup striker, he's not really the full article yet. Kyogo is one shoulder injury away from being out all season on the treatment table. And then, as James said, do you think the plan is to move Maeda in as a striker and keep him there? Because he done it in pre-season, and Maeda actually looked quite well. He plays there for Japan. Could that be his thinking? You bring in Kuhn and you move Maeda into that third spot as a striker?
It's obviously, it's an option. It's not necessarily what I would go for as my first choice, but in the absence of Kyogo. But listen, there's definitely a chance there that it could happen, Stephen. There's no question about that. In terms of the window itself, I do agree. I mean, don't get me wrong. I wasn't expecting major surgery in this window. Whether it could be argued that we need it or not, and I suppose you could twist the argument either way. Because it is frustrating that there's no European football, and that maybe that is on the back of a previous poor window, which is an absolute fair point to make. But here and now, the cold hard facts is between now and May, there is only domestic football to be played. I would never have, as much as we can see that Joe is not the goalkeeper that he was. I think there's still more than enough there domestically. And I think there would be, we've seen on another scale, down south, the risks of changing goalkeepers. Well, it's not. Well, Arteta's been doing it since the autumn. This silly game that he seems to be insisting on playing between the boy that he's signed on loan for Brentford and Aaron Ramsdale. Might be old school thinking, but I just think you don't change unless there was an absolutely horrific decline in form. I don't have an argument for changing Joe Hart until the summer, but so that the argument might be to bring one in January with a case of almost just getting up to speed with the intention of him being the number one in the summer. But whether he wants to go down that route, I'm not sure. And Greg Taylor is much the same as well. I mean, I thought he was very good in the derby, I have to say, and also at St Mirren away. He seems to have been coming back into a bit of form, just as we were going into the break. Of course, we can always improve. We can improve every area of the pitch, but obviously that's two guys that are very much. I wrote that last night. It says that they're under kind of constant scrutiny. But I do agree with the guys in terms that I would prefer us to get another striker, and I think that's the one area of the pitch at the moment that needs a bit of reinforcement. And like you say, there's no real concrete name coming out. Both clubs were linked with Lawrence Shankland, and we've in previous shows we've made cases for and against them joining both clubs. To be fair, but we also we heard there was early rumours back kind of early December about Majowski from Aberdeen that would require a Scottish record transfer. That seems to have died away. Obviously, Big Pierre was when we played Feyenoord in the Champions League. He was there as a guest of honour, and obviously rumour mill went into overdrive. Is that him trying to help broker a deal for Sydney, his son, to come in? And even just in the last couple of days, I've heard of a potential for Lyndon Dykes as well. So there's all sorts of.
No, Jesus God.
You know what these rumours? It's your favourite time of year, Stephen, when Twitter goes into overdrive. But listen, there's no standout player that I'm like, we need to go and get him. Possibly on my own ignorance as well. I don't know enough about Sidney Van Hooijdonk to know how good a player he is, or whether or not your guys from the Scottish side of things, if they would necessarily fit into the way Brendan wants to play. But if we just don't know what's going to happen between now and the end of the window. But I don't imagine there'll be a huge amount of activity coming in the way. But if there is at least one, then I personally would look to bring in somebody up front.
Yeah, and I do agree with that. We're going to obviously come on to goalkeepers and things we've been linked with as well. And James, let's look at the wingers. Anthony briefly mentioned it earlier, but if I read them out, there's probably more here, but this is off the top of my head. There's Palma, Kühn, Maeda, Yang, Mikey, Forrest, Tilio. I mean, you talk about positions that are well stacked. You're laughing because you know what I'm going to ask you. Where do the likes? I mean, if you're trying to trim the squad, and I looked at Brendan Rodgers' press conference today, just like wee quotes that came out from it. And he said the plan was always to add to the squad, not lose any players. But then on the face of it, he said before January that he wants to trim the squad. So again, what's he running with that? And if you look at let's take Yang, Mikey, Forrest, and Tilio, for example, the four kind of outliers within Maeda, Kühn, and Palma. Like, where do their futures lie? I mean, Mikey's been here 90 years. He gets chance after chance. Do you know what I mean? Forrest, let's be fair, he's going to remain around the squad, and he's probably just going to be there until he retires. Tilio, he's come out and said he's the fittest he's ever been. He's not getting a look in, albeit a wee cameo appearance. And Yang, albeit I think Yang looks like he has potential and he has that kind of off-the-cuff energy that I like. He's never really starting games. It's all Palma, Maeda, or Abada as well to throw in the mix there. So what do you do if Rodgers doesn't want to lose players, but he said he wants to trim the squad? Do you know what I mean? Where do we go from here with that amount of wingers?
Probably taking Palma and Kuhn out of the equation at that list there. If any of them were to be sold or loaned or whatever, the Mora, you wouldn't really bat an eyelid. I mean, Tilio for me is just an absolutely pointless signing. I don't think he was ever going to be good enough. If I'm being honest, I think I'd probably put Yang in that bracket as well. You could argue he's like better than Tilio, but it's purely just because we've seen more of him. But it's really kind of muchness. Mikey Johnson, I've never understood it. I never will understand it. Honestly, I don't think he get a game for my fives team. I just don't get it at all. James Forrest, as I say, probably shouldn't have got a new contract. So as much as we always heard about the great squad depth and all that, and we've got good squad depth in terms of numbers, but we're miles and miles away from it in terms of quality. Even if you look through the squad, maybe been a wee bit harsh here, but Anthony Ralston just doesn't really do it for me either. And I understand he's probably not going to take Johnson's place, but for me, I just think we should be shooting higher than Tony Ralston. You could probably argue that he had a purple patch under Ange, and I'm not going to say he was anything bar brilliant, because he was excellent for that spell. But again, he's got a new deal off the back yet. Stephen Welsh, I've defended Stephen Welsh before. I don't think he's ever really let us down, but kind of similar to Liam Scales as well. Are these guys going to be the answer kind of long term moving forward? Then I know you need these kind of players. We spoke about like the homegrown quota and things like that, but I don't know, man. It's we've got the numbers, but I just throughout the squad, I don't really see it in terms of quality, arguably apart from centre mid. But even there, you've got guys like Home that we haven't really seen a lot of as well. So we've got the numbers, but I just think we're so bloated, and we could probably lose 5, 6, 7, 8 players the more, and we wouldn't notice the difference. I mean, James McCarthy's not even had a mention. Do you know what I mean? And so just think that in the players that's been mentioned there, as I say, just think of the wages that they'll be on, bearing in mind that they've either signed bumper contracts when they've come in, or they've had a wee purple patch and get new deals off the back yet. So, aye, bloated.
But James, I personally believe that Ralston, Forrest and that are still here because of Europe, for home-based players for the squad. You've got a certain amount. I personally think, because you're 100% right, they are not, and I don't think they're good enough to be Celtic players. Forrest's been a great servant, but he's done now.
Funnily enough, I don't even know if it was maybe in the group chat. I don't know if you'd have maybe seen it, Stephen, but I'm sure it was McGinty. We were talking about it the other day, and it's something I think that always kind of annoys McGinty, like when people speak about the homegrown quota and things like that, because I don't know the ins and outs of it, but he basically said that if Forrest, Ralston, Welsh, these kind of guys weren't here, then all we would need to do is just go into the B team, and it'd be guys like Mitchell Frame, because you don't really need to register them as such because they're under a certain age. So I don't know. McGinty's the man to talk to for that. But even within Scotland, though, I think there's players that we could sign that would be better. Obviously, the rumours of Josh Doig, John McGinn back in the day was the obvious one, but we just kind of seem to turn our nose up at it now and again.
And it is a strange one, right? And we're taking different avenues here, which is great. And Jed, to follow off the back of what James said, as Josh Doig, I think he's moving to Marseille. He's getting his move to the French league off the back of his performances in the Italian league. You've got Lewis Ferguson, who's plied his trade over there. You've got even our own Henderson. Liam Henderson went there very early on. He's done quite well. Different players from Scotland have went there. I think Rocco Vada is the next in a long line that are going to apply their trade in Italian football. Do you think there is a snobbery now towards Scottish football? Now, for me, the reason may be, and Anthony touched upon it, the Miovski deal. Aberdeen were going to look for a record transfer there. And Miovski, for me, wouldn't be a starter for us. So I can understand maybe the board and Rodgers going, I'm not paying £4.5 million for Bojan Miovski to sit on the bench, when we can maybe go somewhere else in a different league to pay that amount of money, for example, for a Kühn, who different positions albeit, but someone to come in and make an impact on the team. And then you look at the likes of Shankland. I'm sure Hearts, that they've tried to break their wage structure according to their chief executive to keep him. So again, they'll be looking for a hefty transfer fee for him. And I'm all for it. I get called the SPL scout all the time by everybody, because I'm looking at players and I think they could do a job, and Anthony knows it. You know what I mean? Porteous for ages, I wanted him. He's left. He's went to Watford. A few other players as well. But do you think there is a snobbery now towards Scottish football in terms of transfers, or do you think it's just merely we're being priced out of deals, especially if you look at the Miovski one?
Well, let's be devil's advocate for a minute. Aberdeen should be trying to get top dollar for the best player because they're going to have to replace us. I don't have any qualms at Aberdeen saying, no, that's their market value. If you want them, that's what you need to pay. Now, you're right with what you're saying. Is he going to walk into our team? I doubt it. But with all of these things, I've said numerous times, spending £1 million or £10 million doesn't guarantee anything. They could be terrible players. Well, the £1 million could turn out to be the best thing since sliced bread, and the 10 million could be a dud. You are taking a risk with every signing you bring to a football club. So, I feel as though we have lost out. I actually quite like Portis. I've always said I thought he'd be really good. See, what a good experienced centre half beside him. I thought he would do a good job for us. Doig, I would have definitely paid £4.5 million for him to bring him over to the left back. He's got SPF experience. He's obviously he's probably got more technical experience now. We've been out in Italy with the coaching and things like that. For me, I thought it would have been a no-brainer going for him. Hey, no language barriers. He knows what Scottish football's all about. I'm disappointed we didn't go for him. But there is Scottish players out there who I do think do a job. People playing in SPL doing a job. But guys, can I ask you a question? Now, we slag, and including all the viewers, we slag saying no, Lawrence Shankland isn't good enough for Celtic. Would you want to go into Rangers? Genuine question. Would you want to go into Rangers?
Jed, I honestly couldn't give a shit where he goes, and that includes Rangers, because I always said, and it's not to be blunt or put that down, because it's a great question, and James and Alfie, you can throw the 2p in a minute here, but if we keep doing our job and we keep winning our games, then effectively we're winning the league. So I mean, Lawrence Shankland is a good goal scorer. I'll give him that. But out with that, he's very slow. His link-up play isn't the greatest. And if he goes to the Rangers, so be it. I mean, they had big Alfredo for a good 3 years. He was banging them in, but it didn't really make an impact on us because we were still being successful and winning league titles. It's almost like when you think back to it, remember the whole Scott Brown thing that they thought they were going to get him. We got him. He significantly improved us. Scott McDonald done the same. I'm just not worried because Shankland, as I said, is a great goal scorer, but I don't think he'll make a major difference. I know that coming across the fact that they create lots of chances and things like that, but at the end of the day, so does Celtic. And if the service is right to Kyogo, if the service is right to Matt O'Reilly, we're scoring goals for fun. Do you know what I mean? And I get why people might be concerned. And look, again, I'll go back to it. I think for me anyway, Jed, I won't speak for James now. If we just do our job and we can continue winning, we shouldn't really be worried what they do across the road.
Yeah, fair point.
The thing for me with Shankland, I wouldn't be against signing Shankland, but the prices that are quoted, I think, is absolutely madness. Was it 5 million they were speaking about and things like that? I wouldn't mind taking a punt in Shankland at maybe 1 or 2 million. But see, for me, I think actually somebody might have said that on Clyde, it's almost as if Shankland's in a purple patch in his career, and that's maybe no fair because he did. I know he scored a few goals in the Championship and stuff like that, but you're talking about the last 18 months. Like, he had a good season last season. He scored, what was it, 20 goals or something? But I think fucking 21 of them were penalties. And then this season, he hasn't scored as many, to be fair, as many penalties, but he's kind of stepped up. So really, he's only got, well, I'll give him benefit of doubt and I'll say 18 months. He's got 18 months worth of Scottish Premiership football behind him. What age is Shankland? 27, 28 or something like that? But
yeah,
prior to like the last kind of 18 months, his best football was played in the Scottish Championship, and obviously he went to Belgium as well and flopped and came back home 6 months or a year later. So I think Shankland would score goals for us, but if we were serious about going for him and 5 million was the asking price, I think that would be madness. I mean, you just need to look at Aberdeen, kind of similar to, I put Miovski in the same boat in terms of the price. I wouldn't pay the money they're asking for him. And that's not to say that I don't think he's a good player. I think Miovski would score goals for us as well. But again, he's had a good season this year. He was decent last season, but you look at that Duck or Duke, whatever he was called for Aberdeen, he was getting he was getting quoted with moves to Burnley and things last season. Obviously, they're playing in the Premier League in England now, and he can't get a game for Aberdeen now. So it's kind of like it could genuinely just be a purple patch. But I wouldn't be against signing Shankland or Miofsky, but it would need to be well below the asking price that's quoted.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I'll answer your question, as Stephen, as well as the one Jed asked. So to start with, I can understand where you're coming from, but I think all in all, I don't think there's maybe there is, but amongst a certain section of support, but I don't ever think there's necessarily been a snobbery with Celtic as a club. You're looking at the best kind of talent, either from a Scottish nationality point of view or just who play their trade in the SPL. I mean, you look at some of the players we've brought in, just try to think over the years, look at a whole different range of managers. You look at, obviously there was ones that got away, even though we went for them, like that we wanted them, John McGinn, and we know how that ended up. But you look at Ryan Christie, you look at David Turnbull, Paul Hartley, Barry Robson, Lee Griffiths, even back in the glory days of Martin O'Neill, he went to and plucked. He wanted James McFadden. It didn't quite work out, but we ended up with Stephen Pearson, who was just as he was lauded as well, and they made what they did of the opportunity that they got. So I think Celtic will always look to closest to home in ways of trying to strengthen the squad, and because I think we always. Like our captain himself, Callum McGregor, and we've had some great Scottish talent that's went down south as well or elsewhere that's kind of really made their name at Celtic. So I think all in all, there's not a snob. There is maybe one or two that slipped under the radar, like Porteous. It's a fair enough example. I know you always kind of banged the drum for Aaron Hickey as well, who's doing a great career over in I think, can't remember which Italian club he's
Brentford.
at. I know he's he's doing well. And is now at Brentford. Yeah. So you're never going to get them all, but I think we do try and get the best we can from the Scottish SPL, and I do agree with what Wally's saying there. To be fair, in terms of Shank, I know what Jed's meaning in terms of him signing for Rangers, and I think that the thing is, you could understand, like, they're crying out for a goal scorer right now. That's one of the things that's truly hampering them, and there's no doubt that Lawrence Shankland is a really good finisher, as he's proved. So I think there is more of a case for them signing him than there is us, I would say. But as I said earlier, I do think that we need a striker to come in to be there as at the very least a backup. And some of the fees, like you say, Aberdeen are more than that's their gift to want a certain amount of money for Miofsky or Hearts regarding Lawrence Shankland. Doesn't mean we have to pay it. So it's one of those ones. I do think we need a striker, and I think those two would, they would do a job, for want of a better term. But as the guys say, I don't think they would necessarily improve our starting 11, but Shankland would improve Rangers starting 11. I don't think there's any doubt about that. So if he's not coming to us, I'd rather he went somewhere down south and applied his trade there.
That's my thought exactly. I don't want him going to Rangers because I think he will score a lot of goals there. I would prefer if he went away somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of them things, isn't it? They'll get a good goal scorer, but I do genuinely believe we will still do the job and hopefully win the league title when push comes to shove. And according to big Clementine across the road, that he's finally coming around and changing the mood music and saying they're not the most wealthy club in the world. We all knew that, but he's finally coming out and saying that. So you never know what their plans are. Maybe they'll have another share issue and raise some confetti funds for the rest of the transfer window. But just to kind of round up in Kuhn, Jed, again, a lot of tangents, a lot of wee avenues. I do love it. Everyone getting involved in the comments and stuff. But quite simply, do you think we can safely say this is a Brendan Rodgers signing after his kind of quotes about him saying that He's quality, that kind of quality in the final third that we need. He knows the areas he can help him out and improve him in, and that he's been watching them? Or do you think it's kind of one of them ones that Mark Lowell's went to and went, we've got this guy, he looks decent, have a look at him, and then it's kind of like a recruitment signing, if recruitment thing's signing?
But Stephen, if you look, all the signings that he brought in Parma, they were going to improve the team. You know, Lagerbielka, you know, he was raving about him. Now if the rumours are right, he's wanting out of him. I honestly don't know if this is a Brendan Rodgers signing. I really don't, because he has said the same for all the signings. Now, is he just following company rules? Look, you've got to say this. I think people are saying Rodgers will walk away. I don't know. I really don't know, because of the way he left the last time. Is he really willing to do that again? I honestly don't know. And I hope it's a Brendan Rodgers signing. But I really can't answer that question, Stephen, because I don't know.
I think that's a pretty good way to sum it up, James. Nobody knows. I'd say in his press conference today, I think he was referencing Mark Lowell, and they're working close together to make moves on players, but only the right players. We've heard that kind of before. And as Jed said, is he towing the party line in terms of make it come across that it's your signing? And again, you don't want to not trust him. You want to believe him. But if you go back to what Jed said, the summer transfer window, he said about Lagerbielka, he said it about Tilio, about his potential. He said about the multitude of players we brought in, and bar maybe two of them that haven't been impacted on the squad. And I can understand why people are a wee bit not underwhelmed, but thinking, is this a Rodgers signing, or is this another line of the recruitment draws that we've been kind of fed in the last 18 months?
Mate, if I'm being perfectly honest, if Brendan Rodgers told me it was raining outside, I'd get up and look out the window. I spoke about after the quiz night. I wish we'd just filmed that and we could just slide it in here. Like, he's done it before. He's come up and he's played Thor with music, and he's can go to his own board and all that, and then done a run on the middle of the night. I know, obviously, when Andrew was here, he said the stuff about Tommy Burns and like how long he was going to be here, yada yada yada. I would be surprised. So you can't really trust anything managers saying. That's maybe it is a slight in Brendan Rodgers a wee bit, but just in general with football managers, I think you've got to take anything they say with a pinch of salt. But with that being said, it seems to be a bit of a kind of a breakaway for the kind of Asian markets and things like that, or the Citigroup connections. So maybe we actually do have a scouting department that look elsewhere. But as you say, it's hard to tell. As Jed was saying as well, he said all this stuff about quality in the summer, and it just seems to be the kind of the buzzword for the moment, because he said it all the summer, and then he sat at the AGM and he defended the recruitment in the summer, as Jed was saying, talked about Lagerbielka and things like that, and then when the results kind of went in a wee kind of slippery slope, that was when he started throwing stuff. Not throwing his toys out the pram, but he was kind of throwing like shade at the board and things like that. And I said at the time, you can't play both sides. You either need to just put your colours in the mast and say the recruitment hasn't been good enough, or defend the recruitment. You can't do both sides, and that's my issue, to be honest, because we keep hearing about this fucking quality, and we could go out and sign Lauren Shankland tomorrow, it'd be quality. We'll go out and sign a 17-year-old for Man City on loan, it'll be quality. It's just what happens. It's just the buzzword for the moment. Like, if we're being honest, and again, they'll probably cop a bit of flack, is Kuhn a quality signing? Like, a quality signing to me is maybe in the 7 to 10 million, and don't get me wrong, signing a player for a lot of money doesn't automatically make them a good player. We've been stung, obviously, with Barkas and things like that. But for me, it's a player that is signing, and you know they're going to walk into the first team and probably make a difference. You've got confidence in them. And we've all sat, and if I'm being honest, I think he'll probably share the right wing spot with Maida. But the games against Rangers and probably in Europe next year, I imagine Maida will get the nod just for what he does defensively. So time will tell with it, but I don't know, mate. I think I'm just in a bit of a downer with the one day as a whole so far. It just feels as if we've seen this movie before, honestly. And if he says quality again, it's just the buzzword at the moment. Everybody's quality when they sign, but until they get in the park, that's when we'll really see it.
You've made Alfie angry. He managed to smash his glass in the space of 2 seconds.
I've done it. Lovely, nice wee effect there.
But James, see,
Go ahead,
you're
Jed.
bang on what you've said there. But let's be honest. See if Jota and Carroll Starfelt was still there, none of these signings we had in the summer would have even been in their team now. Injuries have allowed Scales in. Palmer's took Jota's place, but Palmer is not an upgrade in Jota. He's not. So our squad is weaker than now than what it was this time last year.
No, 100%. I don't disagree with that at all. I think we're not as good as we were last year. Just to touch on what Strangelove was saying there, I take that on board as well, but he's had a good career to this point. These clubs have let him go for one reason or another. I'm not saying we're going to go and sign a Bayern Munich first team player or any day clubs first team players, but these clubs have let him go, and I'm not saying the guy's a bad player. I don't know anything about the guy, if I'm being honest. I've seen a couple of YouTube videos. I like what I see. That's not what I'm saying. I think the guy could be a cracking signing. I don't know, but my point is we keep hearing this word quality. But then we keep hearing about this bargain basement, 2-3 million odd pounds. That could be, we could be sitting here in 6 months and saying the exact same about Kuhn. We could be sitting in 6 months and saying he's excellent. But when we signed, don't get me wrong, it is different because we were on loan. We knew what we were getting. But when we signed Carter Vickers and we signed Jota for 7, 8, 9 million pounds, whatever it would be, that was quality. That was somebody that was coming in, walking into the first team. Even Joe Hart at the time, he was coming in, signing for the first team. Don't get me wrong, I think you could have plucked somebody out the crowd and they would have an upgrade on Barkas at the time, but that to me is what quality is. Quality is somebody that's going to come in and make a tangible difference. And the fact that we've sat here in right wing, no say it wasn't a priority, but it would have been on the list, but it would have been well done it.
Yeah.
And that's just that fucking word that's really irritating me, because we're hearing it every press conference. But like we're saying there, like quality. What is a quality player to Celtic? Do you know what I mean? Like, we're not going to go out and sign genuine world class players. Of course we're not. But it's the fact that we're sitting there we've got 70 million in the bank. We've got circa 100 million if you include this year's Champions League money. We're then playing for 60 million next year if we win the league. So are we honestly saying that there is not anybody out there that we can find that is a better goalkeeper than Joe Hart, or a better goalkeeper than Greg a better goalkeeper than Joe Hart, or a better left back than Greg Taylor? It's just the full thing as a whole that is really, really irritating me. And it's that word quality. What is genuinely, I'll ask that to you, what is quality for Celtic?
Wow, it's a multitude of things, and I remember sitting here before and arguing with Willie and Ross, everyone really, about what quality looks like for Celtic. And for me, I think McFarlane nailed it. We won't ever sign top quality, but the next level would be a start. And Anthony, if you look at, and I mean, we're all happy Nicholas Kuhn signed. Again, it's 50-50, make it or not, but it's still a new signing in the door. You penned an article via the Celtic blog today on behalf of the Endless Celts Podcast about the time for us to come together and get behind the team for the second part of the season. And you can see it between Jed and James, and even in the comments, people are asking for top quality. They're asking for the Champions League player, the bracket of £7 to £10 million, and you've sat and took it all in with your smashed glass. What's your take on it? I mean, because from my point of view, I said it to him blue in the face. I always believe we should be speculating to accumulating sometimes. Maybe take a chance once or twice a year, spend that wee bit extra to see what we can bring in. And I'm not writing off Nicholas Kuhn. I'm happy that he's come in because he looks pacey. He looks like he can take a player on and get in positions, and maybe the service to Kyogo will improve and his goal return will improve. but then you see James and Jed being frustrated in the comments. People are frustrated. And you're talking about unity in the blog you read today. And it's 50-50 to me in terms of what the fans are feeling and thinking at the minute, being 18 days into the transfer window.
No, the point I was trying to make is that, I mean, of course, we certainly don't all speak with one voice. That's one of the great strengths about the Celtic support. It's a diverse, broad range of opinions, and it's great that shows like this and other outlets gives everyone that that option to be and the opportunity to be able to say what they're thinking about any and other current situations. As I say earlier, I don't know enough about like I haven't seen him play enough to be absolutely rest assured that this guy's the answer. But I'm more than willing to give him a chance. And listen, I would absolutely, yeah, you're absolutely bang on, Kieran. Debate's all good, and I get the whole Carter Vickers and Jota examples, but we've got to remember that both of the guys were plucked for the reserve teams of their respective, teams. It wasn't until we'd seen them in the flesh for a year that we realised these guys are absolute top. These guys will bed straight into the team. And fair play, Celtic. It was, I think it was 6 million and 6.5 respectively for each one. They went out and spent that in the one window. Amongst that, and other players came in that window as well. So I think if the deal is right and the deal's there is a chance to do it, and it's in the best interest of the club, I totally agree that I would love nothing more for us to be doing that on a more consistent basis. But without it isn't always as simple as that. And I think I agree there is across the board there's places that we can improve on. But as I said earlier, I don't think there was ever going to be a huge outlay in this window. I know it's a cliche, but normally cliches are at least bounded in some form of truth. But January's rarely, we rarely have many January window success stories, not just Celtic, but across the board, because as any, any podcast that you listen to that involves ex-players or ex-owners or ex-managers, as Wally was recommending on Monday night, the overlap's brilliant. And as much as they're not Celtic fans' biggest, most favourite characters, I do like the Simon Jordan and Graham Souness one, where they talk about ownership, management, and all different things. And the term that he used to describe the January window is a fire sale. And in a lot of ways, you will always get good deals, and I would argue, obviously, Ange, with the trio that he got in early doors, or at least 2 of the 3 in his first January window, worked out. But again, that was from an area where he knew really well. And of course, the market, because of the play at different points in the season, the calendar year's different, so the opportunity was there to get those guys in. So every deal's different, as Jed says. Every deal's a risk, but I'm hearing enough, and you can only go with what your gut says, that I think that this guy is going to be one that's going to improve the first team, shall we say?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, Stephen. I see we've butting in a lot tonight. I mean,
no, it's good, mate.
I think what the club, in my personal opinion, what the club should be doing this window, because it has worked well for us in the past, the loan with the option to buy. We've mentioned Carter Vickers, we've mentioned Jota, Edward. Now, Bernard, we've got him on a loan to buy. Personally, I would buy him now at the end of the season, because I think he's done enough. What I've seen of him, I think he warrants paying that money for him. It gives us the opportunity without laying out loads of money, but getting the loan with an option to buy, we get first stabs on them, priority. And if it works out, then we can do it. That's the way I would be going down the now. Because like we've all said, January's not a great window. So let's look at a loan with the option to buy at the end of the season. Yeah,
it has worked out well for us in the past, but that again takes the other club to be willing to let go of an asset on loan on the likelihood that we're going to take that option to buy as well. If they have the option to sell first, I think they will always sell first in a roundabout way. But I mean, James, I'm going to throw the fire back to you because I think we're all similar thing when it comes to the transfer stuff. And Jay brought up Pablo Bernardo, and one of the positions Bernardo plays in is midfield, and he's linking up really well with Matt O'Reilly. Last night, I think it broke that on Sky Sports that league leaders in La Liga, albeit having the flash in the pan the season, by the looks of it, Girona are in the form, along with the likes of Inter Milan, Leeds, and Leicester, and another unnamed Spanish top club, according to the outlets that I've been seeing. Anyway, it's almost typical that this happens all the time with Celtic and players that they get linked away for big moves and club record fees. And I've seen a lot of theories online about the Girona one. Me personally, I think the link probably comes from the City group because they obviously own them, and maybe they're saying try him in a different league, pay top dollar for him, and then maybe City down the line would take the punt on him. Look, that's obviously wild thinking, but that's only kind of jigsaw piece I can see there for them to be interested and afford that transfer. Where do you stand on it? I mean, is it typical Celtic? Would let it praise that set go in January and not replace him? Is Bernardo the direct replacement? As Jed said, he would spend the money on him. Is there a link there if we let Matt O'Reilly go, we'll have Paolo in to replace him, so to speak?
I think I actually said that on here a few weeks ago, that I think that Bernardo could be O'Reilly's replacement. I was thinking it'd be more in the summer. I think O'Reilly's a certainty to be away in the summer. I was going to say I'd be surprised if O'Reilly goes, but if the offer comes in, I don't know what you'd be talking, 20 plus probably, to let him go mid-season. But I think if the offer comes in, I don't think we'll knock it back. In terms of replacing him with Bernardo, I wouldn't say right now. I would definitely sign him up. Don't get me wrong, he has come into a good wee spell of form the last couple of weeks, but prior to that, he was pretty anonymous. I know he didn't really have a run of games, but if he can keep it up for the next kind of 4-6 weeks, if he's still in the team starting, then I'd have had no problem spending the money on signing him up for the long term.
But would you take him as a replacement for O'Reilly, though? I mean, would you be willing to let him go in January like that? Because for me, I think that would be...
No, I think it'd be suicide to let O'Reilly go. Probably O'Reilly's been our player of the season to this point so far. So I think it'd be stupid to let him go. But if an offer comes in, I don't think O'Reilly will have much to say in the matter. If we get an offer, 20-25 million, I think he'll be away. We've seen it in the past with like Tierney and things like that. I know it wasn't January, but if the money's on the table, then I don't see the board knocking it back. And see, just to get back to what I was saying earlier, I fucking sit and think, I'm probably sounds as if I'm on the wrong podcast tonight, but I wasn't digging out Kuhn, as I say, like Kuhn could be decent, and I know I had a wee go at Rodgers.
They're in your head, James. They're in your head now.
My issue with Rodgers is just he's used to the word quality, and it's the exact same with the thing we've seen before. My main issue is in the boardroom, as I'm sure it is with most days. I just think it's scandalous. I think we're fucking run like a bowling club. It's just sheer nepotism. But that's for another day.
Yeah, I know. I get that 100%. And Anthony, I mean, Michael Mitchell came in there and said 1 week they're trying to sell Abada. Now this week they're trying to sell O'Reilly. Do you think it's a bit of, I don't know, work and play here, like the media just getting involved in it, or do you think there's substance behind it? We know we knocked back 10 million from Leeds in the summer. His forms just went boom right up. I think Rodgers has developed them really well, and he's already a Danish international. He's been playing well in the Champions League. He's our top goal scorer, one of our top goal scorers, and our top assist maker in the team. I just don't want to see him go in January, but I think James is right. If we get a 20+ million offer, then I think O'Reilly will get a first class plane to wherever the destination would be.
There's definitely a bit of the media at play. I mean, the media's part of the media's job in Scotland is to, either downplay Celtic achievements or try and unsettle Celtic for achieving more, as we find well know, Stephen. But no, listen, I think I'm resigned for him going on in the summer, and I don't think we need, I think that we're all kind of prepared for that because he's having a tremendous season, and I've no doubt that offer will come in just at the point when his contract is at its maximum. Listen, you never say never because stranger things have happened, but I would be very surprised if he leaves in the January window. Whether or not Bernardo's a direct replacement, they're different types of players. But what I've seen of Bernardo since he's been given a bit more of a settled role in the team. I've liked what I've seen, and if we were to cash in on O'Reilly, whether it be in January or in the summer, I'd have no qualms about some of that money going to making the Bernardo deal more permanent.
Yeah. And Jen, where do you stand on Matt O'Reilly?
Matt O'Reilly, I mean, yeah, listen, guys, we create this problem ourselves as a club. For us to bring players in, we're saying, look, we're going to give you an opportunity to get shown world guide. You know, you're putting a sale in the window. So they'll say, do a couple of years with us. If a decent offer comes in, we'll say if both parties are happy. Where I hope to God we don't sell him in January. I think he'll be away in the summer. I'm saying I hope. I mean, I hope he's with us for a good number of years. But if we're going to lose him, I'd rather lose him in the summer. I mean, but I'll tell you one thing, if they do lose him now, Peter Lawler's going to need extra security at his house because all the lassie Celtic fans are going to be up with their handbags, knocking them up and down the place. They see to drive.
A few of the laddies as well, Jed.
Well, I wouldn't knock them back myself, but I do. I think that's one of the things how we can bring the players in. We're giving them an opportunity, European football, get ourselves in the window, and then get that moved down into the. Let's be honest, they all want to go to the English Premiership. Yeah. That's where they want to go. So they use it as a stepping stone. But I just hope Matt O'Reilly's here till the summer at least.
I think as well, I think the thing about Matt O'Reilly, I think we can all agree on, is the character of him. I mean, he went without a club for so long, trained by himself, got his move to MK Dons, worked his way into the team, was one of the best midfield players outside the Premier League. He's came to us and he's played in a number 6, number 10, number 8. He's done it all. So I don't think he would make that kind of like gun-ho decision and be like, I'm going to leave without thinking it through, like rationalise it in his head. And I think the summer, in my opinion, is the best time to lose him as well, because at least you have a lot of time to replace him. And if Bernardo's going to be that guy, I think we need a bigger window to see him in, like the rest of this season, to see if he can step up and keep going with the goals and assists that he's doing. But again, that's just one to keep an eye on. And there's a couple of rumours, James, floating about as well here. Celtic are in for 2 goalkeepers. Well, they're looking at them apparently. The first one, I'll throw them both at you. Kevin Kelleher, he's the Liverpool goalkeeper. He's 25 from Cork, Ireland. He's played 7 games for Liverpool senior wise in the league, I think. And then he has 11 caps for Ireland as well. And then the other goalkeeper which came out of left field was, let me see, Kühn Valdemarson. I appreciate that. I usually mess up names, but I thought that was quite good. He is 22 years old and he plays for Elfsborg, which funny enough is the former team of Gustav Lagerbielke, who seems to be going out the door. Is it the case of Joe Hart until the summer? You get rid of Joe, you get rid of Siegrist, and potentially, if we're thinking big, we bring in Kevin Kelleher and Valdemarson as the 2 goalkeepers plus Bain?
I seen a thing, it could just be absolute nonsense Twitter talk, but I seen a thing apparently that Liverpool were looking for 20 million for Kelleher. And if I'm being honest, I know he's not played a lot, but anytime I've seen him, I don't want to say he's threw them in, but I think there's maybe been questions a couple of goals he's conceded. So that signing, if that's where it's to be, wouldn't fill me with confidence, to be honest. But obviously he's got potentially still young for a goalkeeper. The big Icelandic guy, I could not tell you the first thing about. Never seen him, never heard of him, don't know. Sign him.
Well, I mean, by the looks of the clip that we showed at the start of the podcast, Jed, he looks quite commanding, Valdemarson. He done a wee shimmy as well with the ball. Looks like he can play with the ball with his feet. Again, this is snippets. We know nothing about him, Myler. All the link that I can see is he played for Elfsborg. Lagerbielke came from there. He's won a title with Elfsborg as well in Sweden. So and he's played for the Icelandic national team. We spoke about the goalkeeper position. We speak about it every week. I think Joe Hart, and I seen Feed the Bear and people like that in the comments saying keep him till the end of the season. Look, again, ideally I would replace him now, but I do get that thinking where just give him the end of the season. He'll do a job for us in the league with no European football, and hopefully that will see us through. And then, regardless if it's Kelleher or Valdemarson, you have to agree, Jed, that the goalkeeping position, I think, will become one of the main priorities for for Rodgers in the summer?
Well, without a doubt, we definitely need to get another keeper. But the two keepers mentioned, they're the only one that I've seen is a Liverpool keeper. And yeah, what I've seen so far, yeah, I would definitely take a punt on him. However, not the crazy money. That's just, again, English Premiership players, crazy money. I bring up every time, Ollie McBurney, £20 million. He wouldn't get a game at a junior team in Scotland. He's shite. Yeah, he was £20 million. Honestly. So we do need to get our finger out with the goalkeepers.
Yeah, and Anthony, you're in the goalkeepers union.
I'll just say, I know for a fact that see when Rodgers came back, Bain was delighted.
He fucking was. He was.
He was. He's pally with our MD. He's an ex-footballer, and he's pally with him. Then he said he was delighted that he came back because he felt he could get on the bench with him and get the odd game. He wouldn't be number 3.
Well, he's also got a nice nifty new contract that has never been announced by the club. And he looks like he's going to be there for a few years, Anthony. And then, funny enough, Barcast done an interview this week, and again, he rears his head saying he wouldn't recommend any goalkeeper to come to Celtic. I don't know if that's just petty because of what he went through and stuff. And look, again, he's doing all right at Utrecht, the club he's at the moment. But he's come out saying that. Valdemarson, Kevin Kelleher linked. You said it. I mean, the goalkeeping. Joe Hart's going to leave one day, and there's rumours he's going to retire at the end of the season or go back to, I think, Shrewsbury. I think that's the club he might want to retire at. So we do have to look at it. It's, for me, priority.
Yeah, it will be in the summer. Absolutely no question about it. Like the boys, not really got any great expertise on the two that were in the clip, the brilliant clip. Fair play, Wally, for putting that all together for the start of the show. But for what it's worth, I would agree the Icelandic goalkeeper looked a bit more of a unit. He looked a bit more commanding. Don't know what that Liverpool keeper's. He looked a bit carious for me. Remember that other reserve keeper that used to fling them in for Liverpool. And if somebody's asking for 20 million, you just put the phone down. That's just absolute ridiculous. But yeah, there's no doubt that in the summer a new number 1 will have to. Maybe even a number 2 if Siegrist is going to be going as well, will have to be recruited, and you're going to have to be a big personality to be the number 1 at Celtic. You don't get called upon too often, but you got to make the big saves when you do. And in terms of Barkas, Stephen, I mean, I always, as the guy says earlier, take some of these things with a pinch of salt. You don't know where it's been said. You don't know if it's been lost in translation. I've not seen any footage of it. It's just classic back page of the Daily Record or, something on Twitter or whatever it's called these days. So if that's how Barkas feels, then that's how he feels. As long as he's just not within 500 miles of the Celtic Park goal, then I'm quite happy. But listening in the other apparent quotes that he came away with some of the things, he did appreciate that he came during COVID times, and people weren't allowed to socialise. It was a crazy time for us all. So if he's again, it's this playing both sides. He's accepting that it was a crazy time, but because of that isolated crazy time, he wouldn't recommend anybody going to Celtic, any keeper signing for Celtic ever. So listen, I just wish that we never had to hear from him again. Good luck to the guy. I'm just glad he's no Scottish, because then there would be a potential that he'd be in the national team as well. He's as bad as they come, and I'm not a fan of goalkeepers, but he really is as bad as I've ever seen at Celtic. And he makes Gordon Marshall look like Jean Laggy Buffon, to be fair. So yeah, good luck to him. But stay out of the press and. Without sounding Will Smith, keep Celtic's name out your mouth.
I think in fairness to Barkas, though, you're saying about him being 500 miles for the Celtic goal. I think that was where he spent most of that West Ham game in the pre-season friendly. So don't
have nightmares about that. Honestly, I think he thought he was playing midfield.
He came out with an interview before and he said he wanted to be a left back. Like, crazy. He never wanted to be a goalkeeper. I must be, Jed, 100%. Left back in his house, more like, never mind the dressing room. But I mean, for me anyway, look, I have a sneaky suspicion that Roos from Aberdeen will be a Celtic in the summer. I have a funny feeling that might happen. I think he's a good keeper.
Watch.
And SPL watch. I think he'd be maybe the next goalkeeper from the SPFL to come to us. I mean, obviously, Faldemarson and Keevan Kelleher, his name is never away from the Celtic transfer space, so there probably is substance to it. But look, Jed, there's a game coming up. Celtic are back in action. Oh, yes. Celtic are back in action in the Scottish Cup against Buckie Thistle. What a team name. And by the way, are they named after Buckfast? Is that a rumour that I just believed? Or
it's in between Inverness and Aberdeen. It's a place, Buckie.
It's a real place.
They play Eldorado in the local derby.
I read the rumour and it said they're named after Buckfast. Oh my
Stephen,
God.
do we need to have this lesson again? Twitter isn't real.
It sounded real, but Buckie. Aye, well. But Jed, you going to the game? Anthony, James, you all going, are you?
Yeah.
I'm actually, I'm for a real time. I'm not going to this, mate. It's my birthday on Sunday, so having some of the family around. So we'll get the pints poured and we'll be watching it on the big screen with our Viaplay subscription. So yeah, looking forward to it. As I say, it's a strange experience when you're watching a home game because you're like, why am I not there? But nah, just I'm going to enjoy it in the warmth of the house on Sunday.
And any happy birthday, I'm sure we'll be talking Sunday as well. Do you know what I mean?
Thanks
When
so
you're
much.
pissed out the back, telling how much you all love us.
That's when you all be on it. Pissed, love you.
Exactly. But Jed, I've seen a lot of things about the lineup, and there's people saying throw a couple of youngsters in, like Frame, give him a chance. Maybe some of the fringe players coming back in as well. Home, maybe start Bernardo and Home together, bring Turnbull back out from the cold. We can't really job Kyogo no more because there's no one to bring in. What would you do? Would you go full strength? I mean, we're already at the League Cup and a lot of people are banking on this double. So where would you stand with it? Would you be happy to see a few youngsters in, or is it just pedal to the metal, take them seriously and get the game over and done with?
Well, part of me wants to always think you should start with your strongest 11 and then, well, especially when you're allowed 5 substitutes now. If we're a few goals up, we can start making substitutions. But I do think he'll make a few changes. I actually think Ralston will probably start. And don't be surprised if Bain is in goals. But Kyogo will start, Callum McGregor will start, and Palmer will start. It'll still be a strong team. But I think there'll be maybe four changes.
4 changes. Give me your lineup prediction then from goalkeeper to striker.
Bain, Taylor, Starfield, because I mean Scales,
And you're signing?
Nuroke, Ralston, O'Reilly, McGregor, Home, Palmer, Forrest, and Kyogo.
That's what I thought.
And score prediction?
6-0.
6-0 against. They'll be all pissed anyway, going all that Buckfast will be drinking on the way down. But James, I mean, yourself, buddy, again, would you go full strength and your score lineup prediction?
Nah, I would I wouldn't even. I know we've not got another striker, but I wouldn't risk Kyogo unless absolutely necessary. I'd go Bain. Bain. Does he give Bernabeu on it? Probably not.
I hope so.
Bain, Taylor, Scales. I think no. I'll go Nawrocki, Lagerbielke. Mate, see, to be honest, I'm just fucking making up after that, mate. I think he will rest. I think we'll see like Home, Turnbull, Frame. I think they'll all come in. I think Frame will probably get a start in the wing, and maybe like Forrest or possibly even Mikey Johnson, but I hope no. But I do think he will rest it, because if we get anybody injured, see if we do go full strength, I know everybody's saying about how special a day it is for Buckie and everything, and I get that, but see if we've done it with Real Betis in the kind of D-Drubber game, and we lost Kyogo a couple of years ago, and it would be pretty similar. I know it's all well and good sitting saying it now, but see if we're sitting the more night and we've won even if it's only 3 or 4-0, but Kyogo's injured, we'll be raging. So I would rest all the kind of big hitters, to be honest.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are thinking that Anthony bring some of the fringe players in, see what they're made of. But I think you and Jed had the same lineup. They just
I would say, for what it's worth, I get the argument of, I know Mae does that, but not starting with Kyogo. But in an ideal world, Rocco Vata wouldn't be out of favour behind the scenes, and he could come in and deputise. So I definitely see the argument for it, but I think he probably will start Kyogo. But yeah, hopefully nothing untoward happens in the first half, and then we can get the big hitters off. But when I was beforehand, I know we always do our lineup and score predictions. That was the team that had that down, the same one that Jed did. You might have Mikey Johnson rather than Forrest to start, but also this is a perfect James Forrest game sort of thing, So that's the team I picked, and like you say, it's got all the romance of the cup into it. It's as opposing two teams as it could possibly be, but like you say, it'd be a great day for them regardless. But I hope it's not too good a day. I hope they enjoy the trip and the scenery. But then back up north with a few quid in their pocket, but not their name in the 5th round draw.
what?
And I'm going to say, I'll say 4-0 Celtic.
4-0. Paul McFarlane comes in. What's the betting on Gallagher Lennon scoring the winner for Dumbarton against Rangers? And 100%. Neil Lennon's son has made the move to Dumbarton on loan. Hopefully, all works well for him as well. But look, that takes us to the end of the podcast, and there's a couple of things I do want to say for the people who are watching and obviously catching up as well. So, as a podcast, there's a few changes, as we all know. Jed, James, Anthony, and Gavin have joined Jungle Gyms and Jed individually at the Endless Celts Podcast, and we're all delighted that we're on board with this. Our plan, basically from the start of next week, Monday onwards, is we're going to go to 3 podcasts a week. So Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. The start times will be 8:30. The Monday and Friday ones will be primarily our normal podcast like we do now. The Wednesday will be more of a theme. So fewer questions, wee bit of a laugh, maybe some trivia, some quizzes, some general football news. Always Celtic related in and about that. So a wee bit of fun on the Wednesday as well to have it for ourselves. And then we're going to be doing post-match reactions. We're going to do 2 a month because obviously availability and stuff within the podcast. So that's something to look forward to. I mean, you've seen me angry, but you see me even more angry after a match if something goes terribly wrong. So, you know what I mean? So, and Anthony has started writing for the Celtic blog on behalf of ourselves at the Endless Celts Podcast. We've shared that on the socials. Willie's on the TikTok. He made the preview video tonight, and we're going to keep doing stuff like that. So, just general changes to freshen it up a bit for everyone watching along, and hopefully we can all kick on in the new year, which we're in already, but a new schedule, new months ahead, and something to look forward to. And guys, have you enjoyed this podcast tonight?
Yeah, really enjoyed it.
Absolutely brilliant, mate. As I say, it's good to be back on, and just wanted to let the viewers know as well. First of all, a big thanks to James P from the Celtic blog for agreeing to, as I say, I'm just going to pen. It's going to be possibly to start off with once a week, and I'll try and put it in. Obviously, first game coming back on Sunday, and then I might do the next one. I might do will maybe be the day after the transfer window closes, and the assessment of that. But James has kindly allowed for it to be uploaded onto the Celtic blog. So if anybody's on Facebook or Twitter that follow James, who obviously he does the absolute lion's share of all the content on there. As I say, he's kindly agreed to post it under the Celtic blog umbrella as well. So hopefully we'll get him back on soon as a wee guest as well for the odd show, and we really appreciate it. But it's up on Twitter now. If anybody follows us, if anybody wants to read it, as I say, I don't think any journalists will be worried about their jobs anytime soon. But it's a Celtic, an opinion piece about Celtic, so everyone's more than welcome to read it. And I, like we were saying last night, excited about all the new changes and buzzing for the rest of the season ahead.
100%. James, yourself, did you enjoy tonight getting stuck into all that transfer stuff? The quality, the buzzwords, quality.
Aye, I'll be going to confession now after all that stuff about Rodgers, but I have enjoyed it, mate. Good to get a wee rant in, but hopefully we're sitting in a couple of weeks at the end of the transfer window, and I've been talking a lot of rubbish.
Yeah, well, hope so. Hopefully, get that quality in that we so rightly deserve as supporters. And also, just another update as well for everybody: the audio platforms have been updated and will be updated from now going forward. So, Spotify, Apple, Acast, Podbean, Google Podcasts, we're on it all. It's going to be uploaded hopefully the day after as well. Franny's done a superb work. John's helped them out with that as well in terms of giving them information on how to do it, which is fantastic. And if anyone wants to search us, it's the Endless Celts, a Celtic podcast. Endless Celts, a Celtic podcast. You'll get us on all the audio platforms. So you can take us out for a walk when your dog's having the shite and you're picking it up. All good crack. Do you know what I mean? All good crack. But until Monday, and hopefully we're not all too pissed after the Buckfast game on Sunday, stay well and keep safe. Hail, hail.